Things Podcast. Hey, Phantomaniacs. Welcome to the first ever unboxing chosen by you. I put a poll up in the Needless Things Podcast Facebook group, which if you're not a member of, you should join right now, asking which figure I should unbox next. The choices were the Black Hole Vincent figure from Diamond Select Toys, NECA's Laser Shot Predator, NECA's Decker from Nightbreed, Mattel's Dr. Ian Malcolm from Jurassic Park's the Jurassic Park Amber Collection, and this, the winner, Mattel's ringside exclusive Undertaker as Kane action figure. This one won by a reasonable margin, but early on it got the most votes. And for a minute, though, Ian Malcolm was in the lead, but Undertaker as Kane overtook things fairly quickly. First of all, this is still available on Ringside Collectibles, so if you hear this, you're interested in it, you want it, you can go order it right now. And Ringside is still delivering right now, despite the conditions going on. It probably will take a little bit longer than usual, but you'll still get your products. So it's awesome that they're still able to do their thing, and it's awesome that, you know, us addicts have a place to go to get our fix. So the first thing that's notable about this figure is the box. It's Ringside has been getting some really neat stuff. Or honestly, Mattel has been really going above and beyond with the boxes for their exclusives lately. The Slim Jim Macho Man came in the Slim Jim box, which was incredible, and then you slide it out, and it's got this beautiful like display piece inside. And this Undertaker figure, which on the front is labeled as just Undertaker, but all of the packaging is Kane. And it has a panel on the front with die-cut eyes, nose, and mouth that looks like Kane's mask from 1998. And the panel flips open and reveals underneath the nice clear plastic the figure with a mask, an alternate head, two alternate hands, and the Winged Eagle Championship, which is fantastic. I love that belt. I think it might be I love that championship. It's not a belt. I love that one. It's one of my favorites, and I'll take it out of the package before I start talking about it here, because there are a couple more things to discuss about this incredible-looking box. It's got a nice angled top to it, so it's going to look really nice on your shelf. And I almost, this is ridiculous, so I almost want to order another one just to have looking like this, because you can see the mask and the alternate head through Kane's eyes. It's just a really cool looking box. And if you follow Needless Things Podcast on Instagram, I'll have some pictures up of this box, of what it looks like, and you'll be able to check it out. Or you can just go to Ringside Collectibles. But the box looks so good, I kind of want to have it on the shelf. But then beyond that, I kind of want to order a third one, because what you have in this figure is an Undertaker figure and a Kane figure. So I don't know. I obviously I don't need to do that, but I kind of want to. So to finish going over the package here, on one side it is an illustration that looks like Kane. And then on the other side, you have an actual photograph of Undertaker revealing himself, pulling the mask off of his head with the black circles painted around his eyes in the Kane costume. Looks really cool, and this was a big moment. There were actually 2 times that this happened. What this figure is supposed to be depicting, it's on the back where you've got the picture. It's one of Mattel's sort of illustrations, and it is Undertaker as Kane, with the mask off, though. He's got the black around his eyes. It's got the WWE licensed product hologram on the top, and then it has this caption at the bottom. Deadman in disguise. In July 1998, tensions over the WWE Championship were higher than ever. Stone Cold Steve Austin needed a new number one contender for his WWE Championship, and that's the bottom line. So Mr. McMahon pitted WWE's most sadistic monsters, Kane, Undertaker, and Mankind, in a triple threat match. Mankind and Kane waited in the ring for the Deadman, but when Undertaker failed to appear, the triple threat match changed to a one-on-one, no-holds-barred contest. Mankind, however, refused to fight his friend Kane. The Big Red Machine had other ideas. After destroying Mankind with a chair and pinning him for the win, Kane stared down the Texas Rattlesnake and removed his mask to reveal he was Undertaker in disguise the entire time. The new number one contender for the WWE Championship had risen with one message for the champion: rest in peace. So that is what this figure is supposed to be depicting, although apparently Undertaker's look, and I only know this because of the Major Wrestling Figure podcast, I wouldn't have picked out this detail. So if you're like me and you watched it back in the day and you like, I remember Undertaker dressing up as Kane, but I couldn't have told you the event where it happened. Prior to reading that, I honestly am not sure I could have even told you the circumstances under which it happened. So if you're sort of not a wrestling historian, then this figure is going to be absolutely great for you, nothing to nitpick. But if you are, then you need to know that the look of this figure apparently is technically from the next year in '99 in a match against Triple H. But me, I don't care, because the whole point here for me is we have a figure of Undertaker dressed up as Kane. And like I said, also just a cool Kane figure with the two sleeves, which is an iconic look for him that you don't see represented in action figure forms all that often. So just packaging-wise, this thing is beautiful, but of course we're here to unbox it. So I've already cut the tape on it, and here's a little pro tip. So I'm sitting at my desk now because Phantom Jr. is not helping me out with this one. There was no reason to get the table out. I had already slit the flap on the front with my trusty box cutter, but the box cutter is over by the other table right now, so I used some scissors to cut the tape on the bottom so I could get the figure out, and it jacked up the bottom of the box. And I don't really care because you can't see it from the front or any other angle. Nobody's going to care ever. But use that box cutter. Have that box cutter handy when you're opening your figures up, so if you do care about the packaging, you don't mess anything up. So I'm going to open these flaps up, and I'm going to go in here and slide this plastic tray out. And then the background that you can't even really see all that well, this is kind of wild. The background inside the packaging is the Undertaker's cross symbol on fire. It looks incredible, and actually I'm going to save this insert. I don't know that I'm going to necessarily do anything with it, but it just looks really, really cool. Let's see here. Thinking back on this match, I want to say I knew something was off about the way, because I'm sure Undertaker is perfectly competent at wrestling as Kane, like sort of aping Glenn Jacobs, movements and stuff. But just size-wise, everything, they are different humans. And I think, but I'm not positive, that I kind of knew something was up. But still, that moment where he takes the mask off is huge and cool. And, a point came where Stone Cold Undertaker Kane had been in the main event for so long that their matches got a little bit old, but this was not one of those points. This was huge. Stone Cold was on fire, and it was just, this is a great moment for them to depict in action figure form, because Kane does have such a great toyetic look. Undertaker is so legendary. Like, this is amazing, and just holding this in my hand, even still in the plastic tray, it's such an imposing, awesome looking figure. The red that they used is just really bright, stands out, looks great. But let's get this thing out of here. So Both of his hands are fixed in place by those stupid plastic T-tab things, whatever they're called, that I hate. I prefer twist ties over these things, to be honest. Both of the heads are held in place by those, and then the belt is as well. But I think I can just get these out without having to actually cut them. No, maybe not. Is that actually going through the hair? How unnecessary is that? Come on, Mattel. This is goofy. Alright, so there we go. Clipped one of those stupid tab things to get the alternate cane head out. And let's see if maybe I can get... No, let's go ahead and just clip this one too. The problem that I have with these over twist ties is that you cut them, because I cut them, I don't force them out, because I'm afraid I'm going to damage the figure if I do that. You cut them, and sometimes they just fall on the floor, and this is crazy, but these things are all over the floor down here in the Phantom Zone. Even though I'm careful about grabbing them, throwing them in the trash, and being conscious of where they end up, somehow I'm always finding one of these on the floor. I hate them. I hate them. Please go back to twist ties. As much as I hate those, they were better. All right, so I just pulled the cane mask out with the attached hair, and the cane head and the cane mask look very different, and it's interesting because I think it was Undertaker's own hair over the cane mask, which might have been one of the slight giveaways here. Let's pull these alternate hands out of the plastic. The left hand, of course, with nothing on it, just a bare fist, and then the right hand, the gloved hand. Set those aside there. I think I can get the belt out without cutting that thing. Yeah, I can. And then let's get out old Booger Red himself, The Undertaker. This is a big, thick figure, properly representing Taker's physique at the time. Looks great. They used all the right parts. He's got a thick torso that's not like totally cut, although if I remember correctly, Undertaker was in a little better shape than Kane at the time. And I say better shape. He was a little leaner than Kane. How about that? Whereas Kane was a big, thick dude back then. And you can turn the legs a little bit to get the designs on the side to line up. The black flame patterns that are, on every Kane costume in some degree or another look really, really good. It's interesting how they line up. The right arm, you have, if it's just sort of there, like hanging naturally. I'm sorry, the left arm, if it's sort of there hanging naturally, everything lines up. The right arm, you have to turn it at sort of an angle, almost like he's going up for the choke slam, but not quite. But still, all the deco looks great. The black is nice and thick and solid. Like I said, the red is a great, bright red. Looks really, really good. He's going to stand out on the shelf. He's going to look great. He's got... Now, the buck is just a standard... there's no detailing or anything as far as the sculpt goes. It's just a guy in tights, essentially. The belt is painted on, and it would have been nice to have an actual separate piece for the belt to give it some depth and some texture. Because, I say that, because his armband on his left arm and then the top of his glove on his right are actually separate pieces that give it that nice depth and texture. So when you pull the hands off, you could actually pull these pieces off as well, although there's not really any reason to. I wish that the belt was like these pieces, but it still looks good. It's got the silver studs painted on, very nice detail. He just looks really good and big and scary. Like, This is a figure that you could put next to your Jason Voorhees figures or your Michael Myers figures and be like, this is another icon of horror. Which, by the way, if you'd like to hear about some of Kane's horror career and influences, you can go to Needless Things Podbean site and search for The Horror of Kane and the interview I did with Kane live at Dragon Con. I have not, as of yet, interviewed Undertaker. So he's got the studs on the left side of his shoulder, and then he's got both her long sleeves to conceal Undertaker's tattoos, so he could pull this off. But Kane did wear gear with 2 long sleeves at various times, so it wasn't that apparent. Looks really good. The Undertaker likeness is tremendous. He's got a separate piece that represents his hair, I'm assuming, so that they can use this head again in different ways because his hair is slicked back to go under the Kane mask, which looks really big. I'm wondering how it's going to look on, but the Kane mask just slips over the Undertaker head and hair entirely. From the front, you know what? It looks really good. You can't see his eyes at all, but you can see his chin with the beard underneath. The hair looks really good hanging down over the mask. In the back, you can see Taker's hair kind of sticking out a little bit, but I got to tell you, for something that's going to stand on the shelf, it's a big head. It is noticeably a large head, but it looks good. And look, I want to have a removable mask on this figure. It's cool. It's better than if they had just had the Kane mask prop. Although I think the ultimate version of this figure would have been to include a removed mask that didn't have the hair attached to it. Oh man, I can't get this thing off. I think that would have been a really nice thing to have as well. But I get it. You know, you do what you can. And this this was more than the $19.99 that you pay for an Elite, but I think it might have only been like $24.99. I don't think I paid $30 for this. And there's a little, if you look inside the removable mask, it lines up with his facial features to sort of hold it in place while it's on. So it's a really nice fit. It's great. It looks great. The mask is glossy, that kind of glossy leather that Kane had back in the day. The hair, the sculpt is incredible. No paint or anything to indicate any kind of, like, no extra washes, but it's fine. It looks like a wig, but whatever. So like I said, the Taker face looks absolutely amazing. The white eyes in the middle of that black makeup just look really intense and cool. And the black makeup looks great because it's smudgy. It's sort of transparent around the edges. It gets lighter as it goes away from his eyes, and the design on it just looks great. It looks tremendous. I'm very impressed with the deco on the face here. So now let's pop old Mark's head off. Pops right off there. No need to heat or anything like that. It's got a barbell peg sticking out of the neck. And let's put a proper Kane head on. Pops right on there. And, well, I don't know. His hair is kind of floating above his shoulders. It looks a little weird. And it seems a little small, to be honest. And granted, maybe that's because I just had this much larger masked head on it. But then holding Undertaker's head up beside this head, as I mentioned, I have met Glenn Jacobs. He does not have a little pinhead. He has quite a large head, and I don't know. I think this head should be bigger, and the hair should be hanging a little bit lower. But let's remove. I'm holding up Undertaker's head next to the masked Kane head, and Taker's head is a good bit larger. But let's put Taker's head aside and stand this figure up just on its own and see what we're looking at and how good it really looks as a Kane figure. I'm going to lift that arm up like he's getting ready for the choke slam. One thing I do notice as I'm doing that, and I hate this, you can see the flesh peg of under the gloved hand. Both gloved hands, the open hand and the fist, are black, and it looks like they're actually painted black, which is unusual, rather than just being black plastic. But the peg that the hinge is on is Glenn Jacobs colored. I guess it's Caucasian, and it looks pretty bad. I hate this, and I know it's just a side effect of the expensive toy manufacturing now. It's because that hinge and the hands come out of the same mold, and it's a cost thing. It would cost a lot more money to do a separate tooling just for these hands to cast them in black plastic. But I hate this. This is one of my pet peeves, and one of the things I hate most about modern action figures is how often we see these disc pieces that don't match the color of the thing around them. But what I'll most likely do is go in there with a Sharpie and just color that in, just so it won't look perfect, but at least on the shelf it won't be as glaringly bad as it is right here, because it's pretty bad. Okay, so just having said all that and taken my mind off of the size of the head I was looking at before, this looks good. His hair still sort of floats above his shoulders, which is bizarre. I don't know why they didn't sort of catch that and do something a little different with it. But it is Kane's sort of stringier hair, and it looks good. The sculpt is great. It looks slicked down and wet. The mask is great. You can see Glenn's eyes back there. Unfortunately, hang on, let me put my readers on so I can see all the detail here. Oh, guess what? The readers don't fit under the headphones all that well. Okay, so looking, so Kane's nose is painted Glenn Jacobs color, but around his eyes is red, which doesn't even make sense. If anything, it should have been just black, although this head is red, so that would have been a paint app, but they were already putting black paint for the flame or stripes or whatever you want to call it across the mask. Yeah, this is a little weak, this head. It's a little cheap looking because, one, like I said, it's too small. It almost seems like it's not even made for this figure. And then his beard, his chin is visible under the mask, like looking up, and it's just red plastic. They didn't put any paint on that. His forehead is out a little bit, and I feel like either the hair should go all the way up to the front of his mask, or there should be a little exposed flesh painted right there. And then, like I said, around his eyes, look, if you're not going to... Well, it shouldn't be Caucasian color. It should be black, like Taker's painted black face. So they should have done a little black in there. Maybe even molded this head in black. I'm not sure. So I'm not a big fan of this head. And this, I got to say, kind of eliminates my desire for a third one of these figures, because it's not making me real happy as a Kane figure. So let's pop this head off, and let's put Taker's head back on. There, look at that. That just looks perfect. Like size-wise, proportionally, looks-wise, looks great. And then we take the Kane mask with what I'm going to think of as an attached wig, even though that's not what it's supposed to be. And we're just going to put that in Taker's hand and try and figure out a way for him to hold it so it looks like he should have the hair hanging off. This is a cool figure, and it's one of those things where you appreciate what it's representing and its value as a toy, as an action figure, and as something that's going to be on your shelf. And you don't want to nitpick too terribly much. But like I said, there are a few little details here that honestly I feel like they could have easily been addressed. But at the same time, this is still an awesome looking figure, and I'm stoked to have it in my collection. So there you go. If you're a huge mark for Undertaker and Kane, then I recommend you grab this figure. It's one that, with the ringside exclusives, once they're gone, that's it. And then they just start going up in value. And if you missed out, you missed out. And you're going to have to pay a whole lot for some of them. And there are a couple I'm looking at right now that I really wish. I mean, I wasn't collecting at the time, so I can't be too mad at myself. But I really hate that I missed out on. So there you go. Undertaker as Kane, ringside collectibles exclusive. Available now. If you want one, go get one. And I think you'll be happy with it, because it's a badass figure despite the little flaws that I pointed out.
Thank you for listening to the Needless Things podcast. You're the best. You can find the show on iTunes, Stitcher, Downcast, or in the ears of a Trader Vic's employee. Love you. Mean it. Uh-huh.